Hey everyone, welcome into Unit 8, Day 8 notes. Today we're going to focus on factoring quadratic trinomials when a equals 1. Our goal is that students will be able to factor quadratic trinomials when a equals 1 with 80% accuracy. And when we talk about factoring quadratic trinomials, this is something that is going to be used a lot over the next several years of math. So we want to make sure we get a good handle on it the first time we're seeing it. So we're going to take this step by step, and we highly recommend that you follow these steps and take your time with this process. And as you practice this process more often, the more tips and tricks you're going to pick up and the easier it's going to get. So just be patient with it, and I guess let's begin. So when we talk about factoring, we're looking at this outline, so to speak, of quadratic trinomials. So we have ax squared plus bx plus c, where a and b represent coefficients and c represents the constant. And we have our x squared and our x, our variable terms. So our first step when we factor is we want to find or list the factors of c. Now we talked about lists of factors in day 7 notes, so that's just what we're going to continue to do. And that's why we did that, to help us prepare for this. So we're going to find or list the factors of c, so whatever number is here. Next step is we want to find the pair that adds up to b. So you want to find the factors that add up to that number right there, the coefficient of x. And then our third step is we want to substitute the numbers into this outline. So we have parentheses, two binomials. We have our variable term. In this case, we're using x as the example. And then our factors of c are what represents those numbers there. So again, this is a process step by step. You can come back to this step-by-step process as you move forward if you're needing some assistance. But this also will make a little bit more sense as we go through some examples. So without further ado, let's take a look at the first example. So the first thing we want to do for number 1 is we have this polynomial x squared plus 6x plus 8. Our step 1 asks us to find the factors of c. Sorry, I used purple for that. I'm going to keep this color coded. So we have factors of 8. So we're going to list out all the factors. Our factors are 1 and 8. 1 times 8 is 8. 2 and 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Then we have -1 times -8. And then we have -2 times -4. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to see, okay, well, which of those factors are going to add to b, which in this case is +6. So add to, and we're going to say in this case it's 6. So we have 1 plus 8 equals 9. 2 plus 4 equals 6. Well, right there we found our two factors that add up to 6. But just for note-taking process here, just to show, we're going to continue this process and go through all of the sets of factors. So this one we get -9, and then -2 plus -4 equals -6. So that equals -6. We want +6. So the only one that works is 2 and 4. So now we write out our template where we have our variable. In this case, our variable is x. And then remember, the other two spaces, blank spaces that goes next to those x's, are the factors of c. So in this case, we have a +2 and a +4. And that will end up being our final answer. Now there's a way we can check this, and you can use this check anytime to make sure that you factor correctly. all we have to do is double distribute. And after we double distribute, we want to see, okay, did we get back to where we started? So x times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. 2 times x is 2x. And then 2 times 4 is 8. We combine like terms, x squared plus 6x plus 8. So we go back and check, and sure enough, we got back to where we started, x squared plus 6x plus 8. So we know we have factored correctly. So that's just a way to check our answer. Okay, let's try another one. Number 3. The first step, find factors of c. In this case, we're looking for factors of negative 18. So factors of negative 18, we're going to list them all out. We have negative 1 and 18. Then we have negative 2 and 9. And then we have negative 3 and 6. Okay, now we're going to flip the negative 1 and negative 18, 2 and negative 9, 3 and negative 6. So that does make a difference, right? Those are different pairs of factors. Negative 1 versus 18 versus 1 and negative 18. The next thing we want to do is, okay, let's see which of these factors add up to 3. So let's do some adding. Negative 1 plus 18 is 17. Negative 2 plus 9 is 7. Negative 3 plus 6 is 3. So there we have it, right? These are the factors. Negative 3 and 6 are the factors that add up to 3. Just to go through the process here, we're going to finish these out. Negative 17, negative 7, and negative 3. So we can clearly see the only set of factors that add up to positive 3 is negative 3 and positive 6. When we go through our template here, oops, we're not using x, we're using t this time. There's our little template, our outline. Now we insert the factors of c, which in this case is our negative 3 and a positive 6. So this is our final answer, but let's just double check to see by double distributing. So we do t times t is t squared, t times 6, 6t, negative 3 times t, negative 3t, negative 3 times positive 6 is negative 18. Combine like terms, t squared plus 3t minus 18. And there we have it, right? We got back to where we started, so we know we have factored correctly. Now, let's go over to number 4. And the reason why I chose this one to do next is because there is one slight difference. Yes, the variables are different. We have b in number 4, and we use the letter t in number 3. But we are still looking for factors of negative 18. So we already have those factors listed out. The only difference is this time we're looking for the factors that add up to negative 3. So if we go back and look at our factor list from number 3, because of the same set of factors, let's just look and see, okay, well, which of those factors added up to negative 3 instead of positive 3? And we can see right here that 3 and negative 6 add up to negative 3. So we have B this time instead of T. Right, here's our little outline, our little template. And our factors we said are positive 3 and negative 6. So that should be correct, but as always, we're going to check. B times B, B squared. B times negative 6, negative 6B. 3 times B, 3B. And then 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. Combine like terms. B squared minus 3B minus 18. and we got back to where we started. So we know, again, we found the correct set of factors and we have factored correctly. All right, let's do one more together, and then we'll have you all try the rest on your own. First step, look for factors of 30. Looking for factors of 30. Let's actually give us a little bit more room. So we have 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. Now, factors of positive 30 can be a positive times a positive, or they could be a negative times a negative. So we do all the same factors, we write them all out, except making them both negative. And now let's go through and see, okay, well, which of these factors add up to negative 11? 1 and 30, well, that's 31, so that's not going to work for us. 2 plus 15, 17, not going to work. 3 plus 10, 13. And then 5 plus 6 is 11. Well, we want negative 11. We just got positive 11. So, again, I talked about at the beginning, you're going to pick up on some tips and tricks as you go through this process. And if we notice positive 11 for positive 5 and positive 6, we'll see, okay, well, it's going to be negative 11 if we do the opposite of those factors and do negative 5 and negative 6. So this will be the set of factors that we choose. So we go ahead, write out our template or little outline. This time we're going back to using x, and our factors are x minus 5, x minus 6. And there we have our factoring is complete. But we got to go back and check. X times x is x squared. X times negative 6, negative 6x. Negative 5x. And then we get positive 30. Combine like terms. X squared minus 11x plus 30. And once again, we get back to where we started. So we have factored correctly. Okay, take a few minutes, take your time, go back, try the problems that we did not do together, and then come back and see how you did. See you in a few. All right, welcome back. Let's go ahead and go over the answers here. Start off with number 2. So if we go through and list out all the factors of positive 12, that means positives times positives and negatives times negatives. So in this case, we wanted to add up to a positive 13. So only positive factors can add up to a positive 13. So that's a little tip and trick you can use when we're looking for a positive number for B, and we have a positive number and factors we're looking for C. We really don't have to look at the negative times negative, because it's impossible for a negative and a negative to add to a positive. So that's just a little shortcut. But otherwise, our answer is x plus 1 times x plus 12. And if you go ahead and do your double distribute and check, you will see we will get back to where we started. Number 5. There are a lot of factors for 36, especially when you look at the positive times positive versus the negative times negative. But this is kind of the opposite of that one we just looked at, right? That last one, we are looking for a positive number for B for the factors to add to. In this case, we're looking for a negative number, right? Negative 15. So it's impossible for positive numbers to add up to a negative. So we can ignore those factors and then focus on the negative factors. And negative 3 and negative 12 add up to negative 15. Again, that's just a tip and trick. If you are feeling like this has been a difficult lesson for you, I highly recommend to still write out all of the possible factors. Slide on over to number 6, and we have y plus 1 times y minus 24. We're looking for factors of negative 24, and again, a negative times a positive is different than a positive times a negative. Those are two different sets of factors, so you do need to list them all out. And last but not least, we have number 7, n plus 3 times n plus 3. We're going to talk a little bit more about this situation in the coming days, but when we do double distribute, distribute, we do see we get back to where we started. Not as many factors for this one. So the less factors or the fewer factors we have, probably the nicer process it'll be. It's a little bit quicker. But we are looking for positive factors to get to 9 because we know that only a positive plus a positive equals a positive, and we're looking for a positive 6. Okay, great job. I know this is a lot. There's a lot of information being written down, a lot of steps to track. So practice it. Take your time. Refer back to these notes and ask your teacher if you have any further questions. Great job today, everyone. Peace out.